I'm not.
Very well. How
Well,
are you?
he's
Looking
like,
dapper as always.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 20th, 2025 meeting of the Carrboro Town Council. And we will have interpreters for the duration of the meeting. Where's Kat Lazorko? Oh, there she is. Yeah, so I was informed that we will have interpreters. I think they're standing in the back. You want to raise your hands so people can see them? And so we do have that benefit this evening, and thank you so much. We'll start the meeting off, wait, someone is online. Councilmember Frey, is she online with us? Let's go ahead and get her in.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm here.
All right, so Councilmember Frey will be joining us virtually this evening, and we're gonna welcome our Carrboro Poet Laureate to the podium. Hello, Liza, how are you? Hey.
Good. Hello. Good evening. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. Hi. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote. It's called What Eve Taught Me. What Eve Taught Me. Let me tell you about the ripe apples I didn't pick. Their smell, honey hibiscus, one or two larvae. I don't mind sharing a fruit with the right kind of worm. But that day, the apple I chose didn't have a worm at all. That apple sidled up to me, nested into my hand like a dog moves their snout and wet pinking nose right into your lap, wanting affection. The red I tugged on practically licked me. Oh, the boring apples I didn't pick. Nothing wrong with them, not wet behind the knees apples, not no shame dance naked apples or skinny dip in the pond apples, not make one wish on fire apples that leave you knowing your wish will come true. In the end, it will be you to hike, climb the winding path all the way up the highest mountain peak. Open your mouth to yodel, sun burning you. You don't care if anyone sees. There is nothing to reach you and knock you down. It is that sweet juice that drips onto your chin. You don't wipe it. The apple I chose has given me power, made me legend. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Liza. That was wonderful. And good evening again from a different podium. Here I am. I do have a few proclamations. Actually, I have 4. And I would like to welcome our Public Works Director, Mr. Kevin Bellinger. Is Kevin here? There he is. Hi, Kevin. Hello. In recognition of National Public Works Week, people, purpose, presence. This is our Public Works Department. Whereas this year marks the 65th annual observance of National Public Works Week, and the theme of this year's observance, people, purpose, presence, highlights 3 cornerstone ideals that motivate public works professionals to serve in their communities every day. And whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health and well-being of the people of Carrboro. And whereas Carrboro Public Works makes important contributions to the community by providing reliable solid waste collection, street, greenway, and right-of-way maintenance, snow removal, stormwater facility maintenance, mowing and landscaping of town properties and rights-of-way, tree trimming and removal, ball field preparation and maintenance, facility maintenance, vehicle and equipment maintenance, cemetery maintenance, and cemetery plot sales, and more. I'm tired from reading that. They're busy. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services cannot be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are a team of employees at all levels of government who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other facilities and services for our citizens. And now, therefore, I, Barbara M. Foushee, Mayor of the town of Carrboro, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th, through May 24th, 2025, to be Public Works Week in Carrboro. I encourage all residents to thank and celebrate the town's public works employees and to recognize the importance of public works professionals and public works programs for protecting our health, our safety, advancing quality of life for all, and making Carrboro this really great place to live. That's us. This, the 20th day of May 2025. And Kevin, would you like to say a few words? There you go.
Thank you, Mayor. Evening, everybody. On behalf of the great team of people that make up Public Works, I'd like to accept this. As the mayor read, it's a lot to read and it's a lot more to do, so I'm very thankful to that team. They work hard, diligently, every day, most of the time behind the scenes, getting things done. So I appreciate all of them, and on their behalf, I'd like to take this. Y'all have a great night. And Kat wants her picture. I'm feeling great. Somebody my height for once. It's usually like.
He went there. It's a feel-good moment from our Public Works Director. Thank you, Kevin. Liv Davis and Andrew Robinson, thank you so much for being here. This proclamation recognizes Heat Awareness Week. Whereas extreme heat is known to significantly impact health through heat-related illness or death and worsening of cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease, and cerebrovascular disease. And whereas heat season starts in Orange County in June, and the greatest health risks occur in the first weeks of the heat season as people's bodies adjust to the heat. And whereas in 2024, the National Weather Service issued 12 heat advisories and 1 excessive heat warning in Orange County. And whereas climate change is responsible for more frequent and severe heat waves, and this warming trend is expected to continue. And whereas between 1983 and 2014, on average, Orange County experienced temperatures greater than 95 degrees on 8 days per year, and by the 2060s, Orange County will likely experience these high temperatures on 28 to 41 days per year. And whereas Orange County and other North Carolina communities, both urban and rural, now have more nights with temperatures that do not go below 70 degrees, and the risk of heat-related illness and death increases when temperatures stay high overnight. And whereas heat-related illnesses can affect anyone, regardless of age or physical condition, they disproportionately affect infants and children, pregnant women, older adults, outdoor workers, athletes, low-income individuals who are more likely to live in locations without easy access to air conditioning, and people with underlying health conditions. And whereas summer temperatures in urban heat islands in Carrboro can be up to 11 degrees warmer than surrounding areas, and these urban heat islands are located in low-income communities of color that have fewer trees and more pavement. And whereas heat-related illnesses are preventable, and monitoring and minimizing the health risk associated with heat is a shared responsibility. And whereas the state of North Carolina has recognized heat as an important threat to the health and well-being of residents and has collaborated with scientists, health experts, and community leaders to develop heat resilience resources. And whereas Carrboro has partnered with Orange County and the towns of Chapel Hill and Hillsborough to draft a heat action plan to build local resilience to the health impacts of extreme heat and other climate hazards. Now, therefore, I, Barbara M. Foushee, Mayor of the town of Carrboro, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim May 25th through May 31st, 2025 as Heat Awareness Week in Carrboro, and commend its observance to all people. Be it further resolved that the Carrboro Town Council encourages community members to sign up for Orange County alerts and monitor both orangecounty.nc/heat and facebook.com/orangecounty.nc.gov for heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. I'm sorry, it's a lot here. And be it further resolved that the Carrboro Town Council urges the community to take simple steps to stay safe during heat waves, such as reducing time outside, visiting cooling centers if you do not have access to air conditioning in your home, and staying hydrated to help reduce heat stress and improve the health of our community. This, the 20th day of May, 2025. We have Liz and Andrew here to accept this proclamation and perhaps to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to bring particular awareness to urban heat. While climate change is extremely impactful, it's responsible for, so far across the globe, anywhere from 2 to 4 degrees of warming. We want to draw particular importance to urban heat. On any given day, an urban heat island in Carrboro or Chapel Hill can be anywhere in the range of 7 to 10 degrees of warming compared to the rural surroundings. This is caused by things such as impermeable surfaces like concrete and asphalt, and it's an extreme threat to our urban communities.
Additionally, the town of Carrboro has a vibrant walking, public transportation, and biking community, and therefore we really want to bring extra awareness for people that rely on these methods of transportation, as during the hottest months of the year, they oftentimes can be at a heightened risk for heat-related illness. Additionally, we will be doing a urban heat mapping campaign across Durham, Chapel Hill, and Carrboro. For more information, you can go to https://bit.ly/3YDFI30.
Okay.
So I have a Fourth Amendment workplace proclamation. Ashley Trudeau is Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Come on up. Do you want to come now or later? Y'all can wait till later if you want. Or you want to stand while I read the proclamation? It's up to you. Okay. Ashley and Rena. Is it Rena? Welcome. Fourth Amendment workplace. Whereas the town of Carrboro has pursued equity and safety for all residents through its adoption of a racial equity action plan, its support for reparations to the descendants of enslaved Africans, and its opposition to unconstitutional federal overreach, including the executive order shuttering the United States Agency for International Development. And whereas the trust and cooperation of all residents is necessary to the effective operation of Carrboro local government functions, including law enforcement. And whereas the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution of these United States of America reads in full, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And whereas executive branch law enforcement agencies, including immigration and customs enforcement, have recently engaged in a pattern of unconstitutional warrantless workplace searches which have disrupted small businesses and local communities in many states. And whereas these search and seizure operations violate the Fourth Amendment, which our state's local law enforcement officers are obligated to respect when conducting their operations. undermining public safety and contributing to an environment of panic experienced by many immigrant households in our community. And whereas the threat of unconstitutional seizure by federal authorities, such as Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is preventing immigrant households from safely engaging in public life, including pursuing education and employment. And whereas second generation and non-immigrant Black, Indigenous, and people of color families are also being unconstitutionally targeted, harassed, and arrested by federal authorities and law enforcement officers under the guise of immigration enforcement. And whereas LGBTQ+ families remain at risk for illegal and unconstitutional persecution by federal and state authorities. And whereas dozens of workplaces have joined an effort by Civic NC's Make North Carolina Work project to become Fourth Amendment workplaces that train their staff to defend the Fourth Amendment rights of employers, staff, and patrons. And whereas the town of Carrboro can serve as an example of how local governments can advocate for the rights of all local taxpayers and discourage the overreach of Article II agencies in our communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Carrboro Town Council, resolves that the town of Carrboro is proclaimed a Fourth Amendment workplace, that the town manager is to direct town staff to uphold the Fourth Amendment at their workplace, and report back to council any needs or barriers to effective training on the Fourth Amendment for any departments. That we encourage all town of Carrboro workplaces to join this effort to ensure respect for the Constitution and discourage federal overreach into our local communities. This, the 20th day of May, 2025. And I want to take this opportunity to recognize Councilmember Palmer for bringing this important proclamation our way, as well as Civic NC, and thank you so much. Yeah. Comments? Both of you? Oh.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Reina Gutiérrez y vivo aquí en el condado.
Good evening. My name is Reina Gutierrez, and I live here in Orange County.
Como siembra, para nosotros es muy importante que el municipio de Carrboro se proclame como un lugar de la Cuarta Enmienda.
For us as Siembra, it is very important that the town of Carrboro has declared its support for the Fourth Amendment.
Porque queremos que toda nuestra gente latina pueda seguir su vida tranquila y haciendo sus cosas como normalmente lo hacemos.
Because we want for all our Latina people to be able to live with peace and to be able to continue our lives as we always have.
Y queremos que toda la gente de Carrboro esté protegida bajo la Constitución.
And we want for all the people of Carrboro to be protected under the Constitution.
Como siembra, nos da alivio saber que en esta comunidad vamos a poder mantenernos más seguros y seguir protegidos.
As Siembra, it gives us a lot of relief to know that we are going to be able to continue to live in this community and feel protected.
Y agradecemos para saber que nuestra gente importa.
And we appreciate having the sense that our people matter.
Como persona latina viviendo aquí en el condado,
As a Latina living here in Orange County,
para mí significa seguir mi vida más tranquila y para toda la comunidad que vivimos acá.
it means that I can keep living my life peacefully, and I know that this is true for other people who live here as well.
Y como gente inmigrante que hoy estamos aquí nos beneficia porque saber que somos importantes.
And for immigrants who live here, we know that it benefits us to know that we are important.
Y ojalá y más municipios hagan lo mismo que estamos haciendo hoy aquí para que todos nos sintamos seguros en todo nuestro North Carolina que queremos.
And I hope that other municipalities follow suit so that we can all keep living the way that we want to live in all of this North Carolina that we deserve.
¡Sí se puede!
My name's Ashley. I've recently started working with Ciembra on their Make North Carolina Work initiative. And I wanted to just take a moment to tell you why I think this is so important, what you're doing, why it's a great step, and why we shouldn't stop here. I moved back to Carrboro earlier this year because this is where I wanted to try to raise a family. I lived a lot of different places, but Carrboro is always the place that's felt most like home. And I want anyone else to be able to experience that too. Our neighbors are afraid, and they have reason to be. And there's groups like Ciembra who've been doing this amazing work for so long, and they deserve all of the resources and team effort that we as individuals, but also as the town of Carrboro, can give to them. So I really appreciate how quickly you were able to release this proclamation and the buy-in that's shown. And I hope that we can continue to do more to support community groups like Ciembra that are keeping our community safe. Thank you.
Or should we go there?
Should we go over there? Yeah, let's go over there.
Okay, we was about to ride off, wasn't we? Let's get ready to ride off. A little hyped at the beginning of the meeting, and really happy to support an effort such as that. Immigrants are a part of our community, fabric of our society, and deserve and need our support. The last proclamation is for Memorial Day. It's coming up on Monday, Memorial Day 2025. Whereas we observe Memorial Day each year to honor those who died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. And whereas on this day, it is important to acknowledge the profound horror of war, an acknowledgement that is necessary for us to fully appreciate the sacrifices of those we honor. And whereas the scars of war persist long past the end of overt hostilities in the families and friends of those who have died, in the unattained promise of the lives that were lost, in the divisions that live on for generations, and in the economic, political, and social upheaval that arise in the aftermath of violent conflict. And whereas Memorial Day raises a solemn hope that the deaths of the people we honor will lead to lasting peace, to a world in which the destruction of others is no longer an acceptable means of conflict resolution, and to a time when persistent conflict and continual war is looked upon with grief, sorrow, and a shared conviction that it can no longer be tolerated. And whereas Memorial Day is an occasion to express our deepest appreciation for the rights and liberties available to us, and our profound respect and gratitude for those who lost their lives in service to our country. Now, therefore, I, Barbara M. Foushee, Mayor of the town of Carrboro, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim May 26, 2025 to be Memorial Day in Carrboro as a day to remember those who lost their lives while serving in the United States Armed Forces, and to the victims of war around the world. Moreover, I encourage all residents to affirm and celebrate our community's commitment to nonviolent, peaceful solutions to conflict. This is the 20th day of May 2025, and we don't have anyone here to accept it, but we still wanted to acknowledge Memorial Day nonetheless. Very important on our calendar. Thanks. The end of proclamations. I believe we're down to Town Manager Tony's update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo thanks to our Public Works team, solid waste, tree trimming, mowers, for the great work that they do for Public Work Week. I also want to invite the community to our park improvements on Friday at 9 a.m. Join us at the Baldwin Park to see some of our renovations, and at 2 o'clock for ribbon cutting for our newly paved pump track at MLK Park. I believe that is it.
Okay, thank you, Town Manager Tony.
Oh, one more
Oh,
thing. I do want to mention our wayfinding signs are going up, and just to encourage people to look for those signs, visit our website to see where free parking is available in our town. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Town Manager Tony, for those updates. We are down to our public comment portion of the meeting. I'll let a few folks that are leaving go ahead and leave. Maybe a few more maybe are coming in. Just wanted to remind folks, in the interest of fairness and equity, to please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Also, let's respect each other in council chambers. We're not always on the same side of issues, but we respect each other nonetheless. And we have, let's see, some of you are signed up for the recommended budget public comment, which will occur during the public hearing, so I'll be calling you then. This is Alice, I think, is that Ani or Annie? Okay, hi. Brandy, Piper, and I think Steve. So when we get to the public hearing for our recommended budget, we'll hear from you at that time. Thank you for your patience. And general public comment, first up we have Mr. Bob Proctor. Subject cement plant closed. Welcome, Mr. Proctor.
Hello. The concrete plant has closed. UNC will finish converting from coal to gas. What's the best and most equitable greenway use for $1 million? The Libby-Cotton bike path is too narrow for both e-bikes and baby carriages. As the railroad becomes obsolete, it will take years, legal fees, and funds to buy the easement. Once the tracks are removed, in the heart of our metro area, we could create a beautiful linear park extending from Cameron to Estes. There is not equitable access to parks in Carrboro. Brewer Lane has only a forlorn basketball court. The north side has the gold-plated MLK Park. Why hasn't the Libby-Cotton bike path already been extended to Estes Park? Downtown dishwashers who live there walk to work along the gnarly tracks, while well-off UNC folks walk to work along Crepe Myrtles. Contrast the demographics for the homes along a paved creek path to those for the demographics along a new linear Libby-Cotton Park. The creek path would hug our most exclusive neighborhoods or unpopulated forests, while this linear park would be next to the affordable housing along Brewer. Several expensive bridges would have to be built over the creek to enable these well-off children to use the paved easement to bike to school. But a path extended to Estes would run along the Lloyd Street neighborhoods. Since the Cameron cogeneration plant uses steam tunnels to heat campus buildings, it has to burn something. Burning wood chips failed. Heating buildings as a byproduct means burning natural gas there has less climate impact than burning gas usually does. The Sierra Club has often celebrated the closures of coal burning plants. Most were replaced by gas plants for lower costs. Carrboro should push UNC to fully transition to gas to immediately reduce CO2 gases. Progressives should begin from facts, look ahead, and be flexible. There's a choice. You can obey inertia and spend $1 million to give a gold-plated greenway to our most exclusive neighborhoods, or you can keep it in the bank to soon begin building a linear park near our humblest neighborhoods. Please don't look back to an outdated old plan, but look forward to what will soon be possible.
Thank you, Mr. Proctor. Appreciate it. Good comments. Next, we have, is it Sally?
Yes.
Sally Benedict.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm Sally Benedict. My neighbor, Rob Crook, has researched Rails to Trails. Since he's out of town, he asked me to present his findings. Once the Cameron Power Plant closes, the 12-mile rail line to University Station will be dead. Going north from Estes, this greenway would be closer to a Carolina North development than pavement along the creek would be. Reusing the trestle over the creek would avoid a 30-foot climb. Not only would this climb be onerous for wheelchairs, it would be expensive and ecologically damaging to build ramps. While Rob doesn't see any advantages for businesses coming from paving along the creek, he notes that, one, Fleet Feet could sponsor long northward races. Extending the Rails to Trails path to Estes would run it past Shelton Station, which is where the very popular Dingo Dog Brewery and Breakaway Cafe are, right there. The tracks are close to the elementary and middle and high schools. Kids in Ironwoods could go to school without a bridge. Adding to what Bob has said, here's another social equity note. Once these tracks become a greenway, a short spur could hook up to the Rogers Road neighborhood. Going north, this Rails to Trails would pass through or be close to the Chapel Hill Transit Station on Millhouse Road, a mobile home park on Old 86, and the new Sidetrack Lounge and New Hope Market on Old 86. Before this greenway ends, near the intersection of University Station with Old North Carolina 10, it would also pass by Duke Forest and the Brumley Preserve. At that point, it would be within 2.5 miles of the Hillsborough Greenways and within 5 miles of Duke. Experts have told Rob that this would be feasible to connect both of these. We should get to work on acquiring this right-of-way. For regional greenways, Orange County is behind both Durham and Wake counties. Once this greenway is connected to the Durham greenways, one could use the American Tobacco Trail to return to Chapel Hill through South Point, along Stagecoach Road, and it goes on and on. You could also ride to Raleigh through Umstead Park. This Rails to Trails would provide access to hundreds of miles of greenways. It would be nationally significant, Rob says. So, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
I finished before my
And you
time.
did.
I hope I didn't read it too fast.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have William Flowers. Trees, maintaining trees. Welcome, William.
Thank you. It's fortuitous that this is a Public Works Week because I want to say thank you to Public Works, and I want to encourage you to give them more funds to do what I'm asking. And also that Heat Awareness Week is coming up because what I'm talking about is very much connected to the next 20 years for our town and beyond that. So if you could walk with me for a second in your mind, I live at 708 West Rosemary Street, and that's Peel Galleries down below. If you're looking at Peel Gallery, just to the left, in front of Love Overboard, there was a beautiful oak tree. I counted the rings on it. It was over 50 years old. I thought it was much older than that because it was just huge. 2 years ago, it died. It had to be taken down. Now there are not any trees from Rosemary Street to connection with Main Street, and all the way down until you get to Gourmet, to the Gourmet Kingdom. And there's a couple oak trees there, and another one has died recently. So that's the north side of Main Street. It is devoid at this point of trees. So I'm saying we need to plant more trees. I don't know the details on these private businesses, like can we plant trees on their private property? What are the, I don't know that. Those you guys do. But towns can plant along roadways. There's ways to do that. So this is one example, one place that we need on the north side. On the south side, there's some beautiful trees in front of the Hampton Inns. When that was put in, the trees in front were protected, and they're doing great. But they also are 50 years old, and they will die sometime. So we need to think about getting young trees on that side and the other side for the next 20 years, the next 40 years. So here are what I'm asking is to plant more trees along our roadways, in our parks, wherever we can, because these trees will provide the shade as the temperatures are going up with global warming. That's one thing we can do. I guess we can all drive electric cars and drive less and ride our bicycles, but one thing as a town, we can plant more trees. And once we get those trees in the ground and they're growing, let's take care of them. Because that tree right beside, in front of Low Overboard, grew so beautifully for so many years, but the pavement was up on top of its roots. And the roots of a tree need water about as wide as their overhead, as their limbs extend. So we got to think about the trees as they're growing and providing them with more room for their roots. So that's what I'm asking. Is we one little section. I'm sure there's many more that you all can find that we could plant trees for all of our future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, I have Trey Tanner. Trey, welcome. Proposed no parking, Elm Street.
Yeah. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. So I live on Elm Street. It's all of 2 blocks long, and lived there for about 24 years. And there's a parking issue sometimes. People park across the street, and it's hard to get out of your driveway. That happens during the farmer's market, and it happens when Mercado is busy. I would suggest that it would be a bad idea for that inconvenience to do away with the convenience of being able to park on the street all the rest of the time. Because I know the 2 people who live across the street from me don't have driveways big enough to accommodate more than a single vehicle as a guest. Anytime they have company or an event, people park on the street. We raised 3 kids at our house. When they had friends, they parked on the street. Our friend next door, people park on the street. And bear in mind, this is actually 1 block of Elm Street, because there's 1 block of Elm Street where there's no parking issue whatsoever. There's only, I believe, 1 house that faces the street on that stretch. That's not where the parking issue exists. You know, workmen, when they come to do things, have to park on the street. There's not enough space for them. You know, so it's, I don't know that there's been a huge hue and cry from the, you know, 10 or so homes up and down both sides of the street saying, we want no parking here. I know of a particular neighbor who is especially disgruntled and puts out traffic cones and plants no parking signs in the grass. And I'm sympathetic to that frustration. I've had to do a 5-point turn just to get out of my own driveway when a car happens to be directly behind the entrance. But I've also lived a half a block from the farmer's market for a couple of decades. And frankly, the fact that that provides overflow parking to something that is as good for our community as the farmer's market is is worth having to do the occasional 5-point turn. Mercado has been a great local business addition. I've spoken to the owner. We talked to them about the parking issues early on. They don't like it, but apparently whoever owns Country Kitchen would charge so much to let people park there that they can't pay them, which is unfortunate. I wish they would be nicer, especially since Mercado's customers come at a time when they're not even doing business. But that's private property. Can't do anything about that. But still, that parking is only there during nights when Mercado is especially busy. So it's that and the farmer's market, and I really don't think inconveniencing them is all that beneficial either. So I would ask that don't fix what isn't broken.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Appreciate your comments. Are there, is that Councilmember Merrill down there clapping? I'm just being silly. You're fine, Jason. Is there anyone else that would like to give public comment other than during the recommended budget public hearing about any other matter? I saw some other folks walk in.
Madam Mayor, I think there were some people that overflow, so if we just give a second.
I'll wait.
In case somebody does.
Yep.
Okay, I think Chief Potter wanted to check. Are we good, Chief Potter?
Everybody's listening primarily? Oh, I see a gentleman in the back. Come on up. Just state your name, please. And
Yes, my name is Austin Brown. I live at 107 Melba Circle. Have been a resident of Carrboro and a property owner for going on almost 20 years. So I've been in this, the Greenway discussion, and I think it's a little to allocate another $1 million for a study when we've had studies done since 2009, since this was first proposed, seems a little bit short-sighted in not the timing. I guess I would question the timing of this, particularly as a property owner. My tax bill is going up north of 40 or 30% with the new evaluations, and then to add on top of that the additional 3-point-whatever% that you are asking for to do the study for the Greenway that sits on top of what's already been asked seems a little tone deaf to what all of the property owners are getting ready to experience when the tax bills come out. So I would ask that if you haven't moved on the Greenway for the last 15 years, why are we spending another 1-point-whatever million for another study that, and then we don't even know what it's going to cost? I think I've read estimates between 12 and 50 million to actually build the thing. I'm not sure where that's going to come from, and then I'll be back up here asking, like, well, where are we going to get the money for that? So I think the timing of this is not it's not like the best time to ask us to pay additional money tax-wise when we're all getting ready to get hit with a bigger property tax bill. And if you do have $1 million, why don't you help out us at Tom's Creek down here where it floods? I've got some nice video footage from this past week where they rolled through my property and destroyed more of the bank. I mean, but we've been talking about that for the last 10 years as well. So anyway, so I would say I'm not in favor of you guys raising our taxes for another Greenway study when, like, what's it really going to do? Thank you.
all right, thank you so much for your comments, Mr. Brown. Yep, so I do want to go ahead and say I know that Bowling 3 and 4 is a hot button issue, and we have folks on either side of that, but I want to keep the temperature low in here tonight as we continue the discussion and hear from other members of the public. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come up for public comment? All right. So work through. Some folks are leaving, I'll wait. Okay, so we are down to our consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are part of normal town business. Generally, if council members do not pull one of these items, we would approve all 3 in a single motion. It is my understanding there is a comment for one item, and there also is a request to pull consent agenda item number 3, town code amendment restricting parking on Elm Street, and move it to a future meeting for further discussion. And that meeting would be the June 3rd meeting. And I guess I'm wondering, is there any more information? I guess I should ask Councilmember Merrill first. Is there more information that you need from staff, or you want the council to just further discuss it in general based on what we have now?
I don't think we necessarily need more info, but I would like to discuss it
Okay.
and give the neighbors a chance to participate in that discussion.
Okay. So council members, you have the request. I believe this needs a motion to move it to, did you have, or were you?
No, I was ready to make a motion
Oh,
whenever
go
you're
ahead.
ready.
Thank you, Councilmember Fasada.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve items 1 and 2 from the consent agenda and move or table item 3 to the June 3rd meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Posada and Haven O'Donnell. Council members, all in favor? If there's no further discussion, I don't think there is. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Frey, too. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move that item to our June 3rd agenda for further discussion and also to allow time to hear from residents on the street. Oh, yeah, and so Councilmember Haven O'Donnell had a comment about consent agenda item number 2.
Very quickly, the agenda item 2 is on the consideration of the 2025 Eno-Ha Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. I just want to underscore that right here in Carrboro, we have several of the endangered and threatened species that are listed. So it's not as though these organisms are somewhere else. They are right here in Carrboro. So if you've looked at the agenda packet, just know that several that are listed in table 3.3 are right here in Carrboro and in our riparian buffer and forest. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Haven O'Donnell. I think I had a question. Is there a staff member here that could answer about the connection to FEMA or any impact that the status of FEMA is still in existence? I even want to know that. I know there's been so many things happening at the federal level. Thank you so much, Fire Chief.
I would love to answer that question, but I have no idea. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. Honestly, so as far as the Eno-Ha Hazard Mitigation Plan goes, any changes at the federal level will have no impact on that.
Okay, that's what I wanted
The only
to know.
potential will be potentially grant funding in the future for some of the projects that are outlined under our hazard mitigation actions. But as far as the plan itself, it's already been through the processes, both at the federal and state level, and has been approved by both entities before we brought it before you tonight. Now, as far as whether or not FEMA exists, that's another question for another
Okay,
day.
I won't
but,
ask. Okay, I won't hold you responsible for that, Chief Potter.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for the information. So that would only
Absolutely.
become important if we were applying for grants.
It would affect certain grants potentially, right? So we don't know exactly based on those mitigation actions which we would pursue grants for, and then if those grants were still available. But some of the grant funding, such as the hazard mitigation grant funding, still seems to be intact, and they're still accepting applications for that. So at this point in time, most of the things, there should be no impact to us locally.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that, Fire
Absolutely.
Chief Potter. Thank you. So, council members, we are finished with the consent agenda. We are down to the public hearing on Town Manager Tony's recommended budget for fiscal year 2026. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. We'll hear from a brief presentation, to my understanding, from our CFO, Chaz. And, then we'll move into hearing from the public that want to speak on it. Thank you so much, Chess.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. Thank you very much for having me tonight. The idea was to hold a public hearing and to give as you had stated, a brief overview of the manager's recommended budget that was previously presented on May 6th. Oop. No, you go for it. That was good. Thank you very much. So to recap, the recommended budget, expenditure budget for all funds total $62.54 million. Relative to the current fiscal year 2025, the original budget was adopted at $68.3 million. General fund are seeing a growth from $32.69 million to $36.67 million. The capital projects funds, that appropriation is reducing from fiscal year 25 to 26 from $25.55 million to $22.21 million. And special revenue funds are also decreasing along with the enterprise funds, a modest increase. This is that recap, the expenditures by fund to total $62.5 million. To take a deeper dive into the general fund, personnel budgeted at $20.8 million, operations at $11.9 million, debt service at $1.55 million, and transfers interfund at $2.5 million, for a total of $36.6 million. A deeper dive again on those expenditures in the general fund, budgetary categories reflect the cost of payroll and benefits, departmental operating and program costs, interest payments and principal payments on town debt, and transfers across funds. That includes contributions to new or ongoing capital projects, affordable housing, and other funds. A closer look at the expenditures by category within the general fund. Within those transfers, there's a $1.77 million to capital projects to fund year one of the 5-year CIP plan, $130,000 to the parking fund to offset no parking fund revenue, and a transfer to the affordable housing fund. Major expenditure budget drivers that we had covered on the previous meeting and in the recommended budget document include no net new positions, a 5% wage increase, maintaining current service levels, continuation of free transit services, funding for sustainability initiatives and human services grants, affordable housing at the revenue neutral amount plus an additional 1/2 cent, parking fund subsidy to offset no revenue in the fund, and year one capital project funding. Major revenue budget drivers, property tax rate over revenue neutral, a new property tax rate of 56.53 cents. We anticipate no sales tax growth for fiscal year 2026. The manager's recommended budget also recognizes growth from existing revenue streams and appropriates fund balance for one-time interfund transfers and initiatives in the amount of $3.1 million. And the idea was to reduce the town's reliance on fund balance to fund recurring expenses and to find recurring revenue sources for those recurring expenses. There is a one-time fund balance appropriation of an additional $734,000 to phase in a structurally balanced budget.
Can you,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll ask later.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll ask later. Sorry.
The recommended budget, 53.3% of the recommended budget is funded through property taxes. 19.8% of the recommended revenue budget is funded through sales taxes. The remaining sources are all 5.3% or less. Licenses and fees, 5.3%. Intergovernmental revenue, 4.8%. Permits and fees, 4.2%. And other revenues, 2.0%. And fund balance appropriation, not considered a true revenue, but that is $3.8 million that equates to roughly 2.62% of general fund revenues. This was the adopted tax rate for fiscal year 2024-25. It was 60.44 cents with 1.5 cents directed to affordable housing. The revenue neutral rate that we're required by statute to publish a rate that would generate an equivalent amount of property tax revenue is 46.81 cents. The manager's recommended budget includes an increase above that amount of 9.72 cents to arrive at a 56.53 cent tax rate. There was a comment in the previous presentation about showing other amounts of home value, so we had tried to provide that on this slide of sample or examples rather of home values at $200,000, $400,000, and $600,000, what the town tax bill would be before under the current revenue neutral rate, or last year under the existing tax rate, and then what that new amount would be with the manager's recommended budget. And fund balance, as of June 30th, 2024, there was a presentation on the on 2 weeks ago from the town's external auditor that presented, we have a fund balance as of June 30th, 2024 of $14.1 million. Since, of that $14.1 million, we had discussed $5.53 million of that is set aside for ARP-enabled projects. There's also been $2.39 million used on existing projects and needs this current fiscal year, so that leaves $6.18 million as of the date of the presentation. And that is, that concludes the recap. The timeline that we had seen so far. A recommended budget was presented on May 6th. Today is the council business meeting and budget public hearing. The opportunity to have a second public hearing and potentially a motion to adopt on June 3rd, and if needed, an additional council business meeting for budget on June 17th.
All right, thank you so much, Chaz. Council members, I think we'll go ahead and invite up, or do you want to ask any questions of Chaz now, or do you want to wait until after we hear from the public that have signed up? Councilmember Posada?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your presentation, Chaz. I think I really like the additional slides with the house values. I think that's super helpful. My question is something that I didn't see on your presentation, and I've gotten a number of emails on. If I'm understanding correctly, we're asking for a 3-point something or other increase. I didn't see that in the budget. Is that something that is in this proposal for the Bowling Creek plan? No, it's not, right?
That's correct.
That's what I thought.
Correct.
Okay, great. I just want to clarify that because I've gotten a number of emails and I don't know where that came from, where that number comes from. But I just want to clarify that just for my own sanity as I look into this budget. But that was my question. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Posada. Council members, any other questions before Chaz leaves the podium? Thank you, Chaz.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it. I do have 5 people signed up, public hearing for our recommended budget. If there are others, you're welcome to speak as well. Once these 5 people have spoken, the first person I have is Alice Jacoby. Did I pronounce your last name right? I'm horrible. All right, welcome. Okay. So the budget and affordable housing, welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Alice Jacoby. I work with Orange County Habitat, and I'm also co-chairing the Orange County Affordable Housing Coalition. And I'm here tonight really just to express the coalition's support for the funding for affordable housing that is included in the proposed manager's budget. I wanted to take the opportunity as well to thank Manager Tony for her leadership and for prioritizing affordable housing in this budget. We are well aware this is a very challenging budget climate this year. The coalition fully supports the manager's recommendation to increase Carrboro's dedicated housing funding by additional ½ cent. bringing the total to 2 cents on the tax rate. This is a really meaningful and much needed investment, and we are encouraged to see the town following through on its commitment to housing affordability. I also just wanted to acknowledge the complexity of the trade-offs that are facing the council right now and really our whole community. We know that property taxes are necessary to pay for core services, and paradoxically, property taxes are used to pay for most affordable housing funds. And we also know that when taxes go up, that increases the affordability challenges that folks in our communities are already facing. Many longtime residents, seniors, folks on fixed incomes are already stretched extremely thin. We also know that property taxes do not impact everybody equally. I think we are seeing once again that the revaluation and the property tax burden is really hitting hardest in historically Black neighborhoods that are already facing gentrification and displacement, and that should be unacceptable to all of us. So we wanted to acknowledge that there are real trade-offs here, and there aren't really easy, straightforward answers. But we wanted to urge the council to take a balanced and equity-focused approach by continuing to invest in programs that promote housing access, affordability, and core social services. And also by proactively seeking ways to offset tax impacts for those in our community that are least able to absorb them, including by dedicating funds for property tax relief, which I understand is something the Housing Department is proposing to do. And also by continuing to prioritize partnerships with the community-based organizations that are doing critical work on the ground. You know, many of the organizations that are serving Carrboro's most vulnerable residents, and I know my colleague Jackie Jenks is here with IFC. In the same way local governments are concerned about the loss of federal funds, your partners on the ground, we are facing terrifying loss of federal funds, the loss of donor dollars, and a very challenging political and economic climate. So we need y'all now more than ever. Lastly, I just want to say budgets are moral documents which reflect our values and priorities as a community. We know that the racial and economic disparities we see in Carrboro are deeply rooted in unequal access to housing. So prioritizing housing is one of the most powerful ways that governments can address these disparities. Oh, the gavel is happening, sorry.
But you were happening too. You finished up? Thank you. I think we get the message.
I'm finished.
Thank you so much. We
Thank
get
you
the
for your
message.
time and leadership. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Alice. Is it Ani?
Yeah.
Pronounce it. I didn't say it right, did I? Is it Ani?
Yes, it is.
All right. Welcome,
Yep.
Ani. LHA funding is your topic.
That's right. For all of those who don't know about LHA, our wonderful county program that gives us assistance to pay our taxes if we're long-time homeowners, it's really great. I just wish it had more funds and the income top was higher. Anyway, so let's be committed to keep our communities together with increased funding of the LHA program. Qualified homeowners can apply for LHA support to pay their property taxes. To be eligible, you must live in Orange County, have owned and lived in your home at least 5 years, and be at or below the income limit, which is based on household size. This program is important because, as Alice said, we all know that gentrification and displacement are both happening in Carrboro. Our county's 2025 property reevaluations will drastically shift the burden of property taxes to historic Black neighborhoods. The newer and larger homes in Carrboro are benefited by being undervalued, while homes in Black and brown neighborhoods have had their property taxes double due to their homes being overvalued. The LHA program helps folks in all of our historic areas stay in their homes. Traditional historical neighborhoods like Rogers Road and Tin Top must be maintained since they are at risk of losing their homes of 80 years due to the recent, it's hard to say it, 2025 extreme property reevaluations. The LHA program gives people the assistance they need to avoid having to sell their property, which their families will need for generations to come. So to help our homeowners stay in their homes, please fund Carrboro's LHA program so that it will match Orange County's LHA awards, which Chapel Hill has already done. So, you know, we have to too then, because they've done it first. Chapel Hill, let me see. And I also represent personally the single childless homeowners of Carrboro who plan to age in place and hopefully pass away at home. With increasing home health care costs, my limited long-term health insurance benefits could easily run out. By helping me pay property taxes with LHA, I save more money that I can use to pay future caregivers that I might need. So, oh, look how close.
Look at
so,
you.
thank you for increasing the LHA funding and matching Orange County's awards. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your comments. We have Brandy Pickrell next. Brandy. Welcome, Brandy.
So I am Brandy Pickrell, and I live in Fair Oaks. I attended the council meeting May 6th, and I came today to say that I oppose raising property taxes or moving any money from existing projects to start working on Bowling Creek phases 3 and 4. The hardest part, as we've heard just from the last two people about living in Carrboro, is affordability. And I think a lot of you ran on the platform of affordability. I would love to move my aging parents here to live here so I can help take care of them. But the extreme high cost of living here is making it difficult for us to retire, let alone moving a family. And I know many others that we've just heard about, and people in my generation taking care of children with tuition and their parents are facing the same challenges. So I think that really raising taxes just to begin the Bowling Creek Greenway when we don't even have a secured funding or a real timeline or an estimate that I've heard of how much it's really going to cost feels like a step in the opposite direction of affordability. You know, when this project was first introduced to the community 2 years ago, no one was told that parts of it would be funded through property taxes. The reasonable assumption was that it would be funded by the DOT grants or Triangle West or the MPO, not homeowners. This misunderstanding alone, I think, warrants a new community conversation. I also have major environmental concerns. Bowling Forest is a critical wildlife corridor, and a development would threaten and permanently alter what is currently, for all intents and purposes, a nature preserve. Paving here could also worsen flooding downstream in Camelot Village. And if we use the word equity, I think we need to think of people who are living downstream from that creek and the flooding that they're already experiencing. I'm fully in support of greenways. I want fewer cars, I want more bikes, and I see and share that vision. But this particular plan is deeply flawed, and there are better alternatives. A trail along the perimeter of the forest could be eligible for DOT funding, and it would offer a safer, more expandable route that could actually accommodate future growth. And that's something that the 2009 plan doesn't take into consideration, that we're going to have more of these electric vehicles on the road. I mean, everyone from 3-year-olds to 90-year-olds are going to be riding, and we're going to need to expand these greenways, and you cannot expand that greenway next to the creek. So we want to have growth, right? So I'm asking, please think about the families and people here who are struggling with inflation and rising costs. We love this town, but we need your decisions to reflect a real commitment to affordability and the environment. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Brandy. Thank you for your comments, Brandy. The last person I have signed up, his first name is Steve. I can't make out the last name. What's your last name, Steve?
Benjamin.
All right, welcome, Steve Benjamin.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk and for all of us to be able to provide some input on the budget. You've heard a lot of comments before. Let me talk about a few specifics. We'll use some of the home that I've got as an illustration, but I think it's indicative of others. we're all looking at, from revenue, as you know, from revenue neutral, we're looking at a 20.8% tax increase above revenue neutral. That does not factor in the revaluation rates. So while we got a new slide tonight that shows the various, you know, $200,000 house, it's no longer just 200, there's a 400,000, et cetera. But the issue is that the across Carrboro, as you I'm sure know, is 47% increase in the values. That's per Orange County. So in fact, what's happening in my house anyway is that that 20.8% increase is not 20.8%. After with the revaluation, it's 45.1%. So 45.1% is just not bearable. I mean, that's just not, I'm sure that's not the intent, right? That's not the intent of what we're trying to do. Even at 20.8% as a tax increase, that's a very sizable increase, even just from revenue neutral to the proposed budget. I understand we have a lot of great projects, things we want to get done, things that need to be funded, but it has to be at a realistic monetary level. 21%, you know, I don't know, I didn't have I don't know what the increases have been in previous years or per year, but I would think they'd probably be 3% maybe, and we're going to go to 21. You know, maybe a 5 or 6% increase. That should be something we're doing, but 45.1% is, I think, just too high. Above revenue neutral, by the way, just to give an illustration, we are 58% higher than Chapel Hill's request above revenue neutral. We're 66% higher than Hillsboro's request above revenue neutral. So it's pretty significant. Thank you very much. I hope that you can look at, sharpen a pencil, maybe look at some other pools of money, ways to adjust the budget so it's not solely hitting, or not solely, but largely hitting homeowners. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments, Mr. Benjamin. Is there anyone else that would like to give public comment that is not signed up? Come on up. Are you there? Let's get Piper. Forgive me, Piper. Come on up.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Piper.
I'm here to oppose paving Bowling Creek trails. Having attended the May 6th budget hearing, I noted the town manager said we lack the funds to cover existing expenses, forcing us to dip into the general fund again this year, hopefully the last year of deficits before beginning to replenish reserves. So we're already running deficits, and that's not including the $1.2 million needed for an engineering plan for the trail construction. We're already paying $1.5 million annually on our debt. $14 million of that debt can be attributed to our share of the new library, which costs double its 2019 projection. Spending more on cutting down trees and paving sections of our woods when we're already financially strained is irresponsible. This trail sits in a flood zone. The pump track, just 4 years old, already needed redoing. Paving trails will demand ongoing, costly repairs. It's been claimed that 70% of the town support cutting down trees and paving a flood zone. But who participated in that study? Was it mailed to every household? Did it mention how much it would cost to raise property taxes or raise property taxes? Sure, in theory, increasing the accessibility of the woods sounds great to 70% of people, but without giving them all the information, you're skewing the results. My father, who moved here when he was 10, was disabled by polio and used a hand-powered 3-wheel bike for exercise long after his shoulders gave out from walking on crutches. He took it to existing trails all the time. Technology is advancing rapidly. Exoskeletons for paraplegics and hover bikes have become available basically in the last 2 years. What will be available in 5 or 10? We have no idea. Paving now may lock us into an outdated solution with costly upkeep. The north-south commute is already pretty easy. A person can ride from downtown Carrboro to Chapel Hill High School without ever riding on a main road without bike lanes. It currently takes about 10 minutes to bike from Hillsborough Road through the Fair Oaks neighborhood to the Claremont neighborhood to the high school. I personally would prefer my daughter to commute to school through neighborhoods than by herself through the woods. I believe there are other options that address over-reliance on cars that are much more feasible, less expensive, less controversial, have less environmental impact, and would be utilized by more people. Let's fix our budget and invest in solutions that don't sacrifice physical or environmental health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Piper. Who is that getting up? Is that Jackie Jenks from the IFC? Come on, Jackie. Welcome.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Jackie Jenks from IFC, which has served this community for 62 years and counting. Just a shout out to my colleagues who are over there in the back row and one of our dedicated volunteers right here in the front row. We wanted to extend our gratitude to you for living out the town's values through the budget by meaningfully investing in housing and human services. We're also part of the Orange County Affordable Housing Coalition and recognize that, especially now with the disproportionate impacts of revaluation on our communities that struggle the most, as well as the looming federal cuts to our housing and community services, supporting the everyday needs of our neighbors is particularly critical now. We must, above all else, come together as a community and take care of our people through property tax assistance, rental assistance, and affordable housing investment, and by supporting organizations providing essential services. This year, IFC has requested much needed increased support for our shelter and food security programs. We are seeing need and cost go up and financial and other resources on the decline, as Alice talked about earlier. The recent cuts to the U.S. Department of Agriculture included a reduction of funds in the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which provides supplemental assistance to farmers to grow and provide food that is then given to food pantries and school lunch programs. This will likely reduce the food supply we receive for the community market, meaning there could be less food on the shelves for shoppers who are in need and are facing escalating prices at the grocery store. In addition, the Trump administration's proposed budget for the coming year includes devastating cuts to housing, shelter, and community development programs. This puts IFC's federal funding for shelter and permanent supportive housing in direct jeopardy. We are also requesting support for a member engagement position, which would directly address the needs of people coming to IFC Commons in need of support, and particularly those who spend time in our outdoor spaces. As we feel the impact of funding reductions on the overall safety net services for our members, IFC is seeing more and more people in need. IFC Commons has new faces coming in the door every day, and we have new folks spending time in and around the building, including the outside spaces. This is impacting our neighbors in significant ways, especially as our staff capacity is not sufficient to address the activity in all these spaces. While this is not the result of a direct federal funding cut, it is a result of overall pressures that our most vulnerable residents are experiencing. We want to thank you for making the time to hear from us, for prioritizing people in this budget, and for your continued partnership.
All right,
I'm going to give you
look
2
at
seconds back. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Is there anyone else? Come on up. I recognize your face. Can you give me your name again? Drew? Welcome, Drew.
Thank you. Good evening. 2 weeks ago, the town manager and chief finance officer presented a 2026 budget proposal. that carefully balances the need to sustain vital town services with the desire to minimize the financial burden on taxpaying residents. This thoughtful approach deserves our support. Our community is facing unprecedented challenges right now. Tariffs, inflation, rising local taxes, increased utility bills are putting significant pressure on residents and increasingly making Carrboro unaffordable. Many of us are struggling with job insecurity, and some have already lost jobs. I know I'm not alone in feeling anxious about what the near future holds. In this difficult moment, spending on non-essential projects, such as the Bowling Creek Greenway, feels out of touch from reality many of us are living. As you've heard here tonight, I think there are far more deserving areas that could use that money. We should focus the resources on priorities that address the immediate needs of our community, rather than discretionary expenses that can wait. I ask you as our town fiduciaries to take this responsibility seriously, avoid spending on projects that aren't critical right now. Please approve the budget as it was initially proposed by the town manager and chief finance officer. And I think also look at ways in which I think it was proposed by one of the council members. If there are things even within the budget that could be deferred. I think you all talked about software updates, things like that. Anything I think to reduce the burden on residents would be really helpful at this time. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, Drew. Drew's out at 1:07. Thank you. Anyone else? Welcome. And your name is? My name is Gonzo. Okay, come on up. IFC or just budget?
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
IFC. I also want to propose that y'all get a mobile mic that can come up a little bit more. I'm not really familiar with this whole meeting situation, but what I would like to ask is from you all that you would take some consideration into looking into helping supply some form of resource officer for IOC. What we do besides help individuals more so get a better life for themselves, we also supply a safety place for them. And as we are short-staffed, I've been there now for 15 years, and I've seen people come in from all over the state, from other states. A lot of people we don't realize. A lot of people don't know what we do. And it makes it a little bit more dangerous for those that are just trying to come there and just find a piece of a place to exist. And if we could possibly have some assistance in some form of a resource officer at some point to be there, it would make it a lot better for the people that come to IFC for our services. I've seen people leave and say they're not coming back because they don't feel safe. And that's definitely not what we set out to do for individuals. We want people to come there. We want people to know about us. There's people, I've been told many years ago, a guy told me that there was a sign in New York, homeless shelter, and it said, if you really want to go to a good shelter, go to Chapel Hill. We was on Rosemary at the time, and I was having a conversation, and he told me that, and that said a lot. Because you're talking about you can go anywhere else in these United States, but he said, with this sign, come to our town. And they do. And a lot of them feel safe. But now you have so many people that's coming from different areas, and it get a little hectic out there. Sometimes I'm not only a facilities operational personnel, I'm also security. And there's a lot of hazards out there, and we really, really, really need some form of assistance in this. Thank y'all for listening, and thank y'all for having us.
Thank you so much for your comments. Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Council members, it's on us. I know that Councilmember Frey is virtual. I think her camera is not working. Maybe on her end. So I know she had a question. Councilmember Frey, are you there?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'm here.
I think it's from, is it for Chaz? It's for the CFO?
Yes,
Maybe?
thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, Councilmember Frey.
Hi, Chaz. Thanks. I just wanted to check because I've been going through the different levels of the proposal, and I wanted to make sure, did we get the full request for the LHA support into the manager's recommended budget? And that is the proposal to help match the tax relief that the county does.
There is $45,000 in the Human Services budget for the LHA program.
Thank you, Manager Tony. Do we run any estimates to figure out how much of the need in Carrboro that would cover?
Not at this time, but we can certainly look into it and get a response back to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. That's my only question.
Okay, so not CFO. Can have a seat, Jess. Thank you, Councilmember Frey. Council members, questions, comments on anything that we've heard from the public? Any questions for our CFO? Certainly we have much to discuss. Councilmember Haven O'Donnell, go right ahead.
Yeah, so we've heard from some folks about if there's other areas that could have trimming. And I know that we've thrown out certain ideas, so I would ask where we stand today, are there areas that may still be trimmable?
There are, Councilmember Haven O'Donnell, the 5% increase for employee salary is discretionary. There are a few capital projects that could be punted. The other capital projects have federal funding tied to it, and so there's like a 20% match. We included that in the budget. Still not certain if those federal fundings will come in, but if so, that will cover 80%, so we have the 20%. There are a few, we scaled back on software that did come up. Projects, it will help with efficiency, which we are not adding any new staff members, so we're holding a line on staff requests, but the efficiencies in software would help staff in that way. So we added a few, but not all. Most of them are just increases to existing contract to continue certain software licenses. So there are very few in that space. That's about all the discretionary spending in the budget. Any additional cuts will be cut in service level. And that's always possible. It's just a matter of what areas would you like to cut for service.
Yeah, there was an item that was mentioned, maybe it was May 6th, about lighting.
Capital, that is a capital project.
Okay.
We could cut that further, cut that totally. That was part of our sustainability initiative, and we've already cut that down, slim trim, to very basic, maybe 100, 200,000 at the most.
Well, nobody has their hand up, so I think as far as the half cent for the affordable housing fund, I would not, you didn't mention it, but certainly I would want that to stay in to make the full 2 cents on the tax rate. Now, we have some sustainability initiatives here. One of them we just talked about, you were talking about the lighting at the parks, right, just then. We got EV replacement vehicles and building energy assessments. Is there any trimming there or not? Possible?
All things possible. I mean, a few of that's a capital side as well. Anything on the capital side essentially is optional.
Land use planning, so we have the UDO rewrite, which is the second half, reimagining Weaver Street, which would be phase 1. Certainly not continuation of free transit services in Carrboro with I think that's 2.38 million. And our 2% increase in support to nonprofits through human services funding, which is a total of approximately $452,000. I don't think I would want to see that leave. And then just maintaining our current service levels, like when would we start to really feel impacted about the current service levels that community members have become accustomed to?
You said where?
When?
When?
Like, no trimming there, certainly, because you're talking about things like trash pickup and other things that we've all gotten accustomed to here in the community. So that's what I meant in the maintenance of current service levels there. So I wouldn't imagine we'd want to do anything there. But I imagine everything's on the table, and it's whatever the council would decide. You presented your recommended budget with the information that you had, and so we do appreciate that. And so, council members, any other questions or comments? Councilmember Posada.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Manager, I just wanted to ask a quick question on the Weaver Street space. I know that one of my biggest, there's 200,000 that's allocated for kind of like following up with that project. The only question I have, and maybe might not be the right time to ask, and please let me know, but it's one of my biggest concerns there was about mobility of the buses, right? There was specifically because if buses are not able to do that turn, then we would potentially be losing a number of spots down Weaver Street. I don't know, I know that one of the things that we were gonna follow up on is getting an answer whether or not the buses could turn on that. Have we gotten any response from,
The staff is actively still doing analysis on it. We left some money, that actually is half of what we wanted to budget, so that was scaled down as well. If we can close it after the traffic analysis, conversations with DOT, how they would re-navigate. We want to do extensive engagement, making sure the business community is okay with delivery and certain other factors that will impact the closure of that. The funding we left in there, if all of that checks out, the staff will report back on all of the analysis and engagement. We would have money to at least close the street, maybe bollards and things like that. There will be a second phase that would come back as a recommendation for the next fiscal year budget for reimagining the space, which would require additional resources. So we are still gathering data and should have an update for you soon.
Okay. That was my question on that piece. I have a bunch of others, but I'll ask you at our meeting later this week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Posada. Anyone else? Council members, before I close the public hearing, is this the level of our deliberation this evening? Councilmember Posada.
No, just a quick question on parliamentary procedure. Are we closing the public hearing or keeping it open until next meeting?
Well, I think on June 3rd, it could be another public hearing. So I think we could close this one.
Right. Okay.
And we could have another one on June 3rd if we need to.
Right.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I believe we're moving forth from this item. Council members? Thank you so much, everyone, for your input. We may adopt the budget on June 3rd. We may not. It depends. We have until what, June 17th or so, Town Manager Tony? Yeah.
That is the last opportunity.
Right. Thank you so much. I'll wait until community members or whomever are going to leave, and then we'll go to the next item.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on the general agenda is an action item, possibly an action item. It's the information item first. We would like for you to review a request that came in about an honorary street sign. This would be a new initiative by the town. There is a criteria that staff has developed for any future requests, the application process. There needs to be historical in nature, some data points, and a recommendation from a committee. In this case, a recommendation from the Race and Equity Commission for Strayhorn Drive. So our Chief Race and Equity Officer will give an overview about the request and a preview of what the honorary sign would look like and our policy going forward. Ms. Anita.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. In your packet this evening, you, as the town manager mentioned, you have a request to name Laurel Avenue Honorary Strayhorn Drive and installing a sign that would acknowledge that. The reason for the application was cultural and historical significance. As we know, Tony and Nellie Strayhorn are believed to be the first black family to settle in Carrboro, as well as the Strayhorns and the descendants have lived in Carrboro since 1879, before the town was incorporated, at the same location along Laurel Avenue, which was at some point called Strayhorn Drive and Jones Ferry. As Manager Tony mentioned, we did develop an application process that can be used, and it is online along with the renaming policy. The Strayhorn family did submit an application and supporting documents for your review. And so the recommendations that came forward, specifically from the Racial Equity Commission at their March 26th meeting, they voted unanimously to recommend honoring the Strayhorn Barbie family request, naming Laurel Avenue Honorary Strayhorn Drive and installing a sign. In your left-hand bottom corner is a mock-up of what the sign would actually look like. And then as you look at the middle picture, that would be where the sign would go, right up under Laurel Avenue. And then the picture to your very right side is pretty much what it would look like. All of the signs would be brown, and as they move forward, that would be the process. I'd like to take this time to mention that this designation will not change or impact the official street name or numbering of buildings or street addresses. The postal addresses for honorary streets remain the same in terms of the primary name of the street. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Again, this process is online. It is available as we speak. And so we do have a resolution attached for your consideration, and the staff recommends that you approve that resolution.
Well, that was quick. Ms. Jones McNair. Is there, okay, Councilmember Haven O'Donnell, you can go ahead, then I'll come back and ask my question.
No, I was going to move the item.
Oh, okay. I just have one quick question. Did I read somewhere, there's a 15 years, you may have to reapply for the designation?
Yes.
Okay.
As we took a look at other naming policies out there, we noticed that many of them had a sunset time frame in place. And so, again, this is an internal process that we'd like to pilot and see how it works. And it is 15 years. And certainly, prior to the ending of the 15th year, a applicant can reapply for it to, stay in place.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. I don't think Councilman, you have a question? Are you going to second Randy's?
No, I have a question.
Oh, you have a question?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Posada.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the presentation and for bringing this. This is, I was there when the plaque was unveiled. It's a beautiful home. My question actually was towards the 15 years as well, right? So, if I'm understanding, this is a policy that we're mirroring from other places. My question around is, what would the difference be if we kept it in perpetuity rather than in a time lapse?
It would stay there. It would be, no impact. It's not a financial impact at this point. So it would just merely stay unless something came up. Maybe Manager Tony has more to say about that, but that's how I understand it.
Absolutely. You could make that choice. Many of the communities had like 5 years. I think they were trying to consider changeover potential in the street and the residents, and them coming back to council, asking for a change of some sort. But if you did it, you could do it in perpetuity. You also consider other potential requests for this as well, and just giving a sunset. Obviously, if no one came back in 15 years to object to it, it would stay in perpetuity.
Gotcha. So it's basically, we do the 15 years, reapply in 14, whenever it comes back for the council, it has to be approved by the council again.
Yes.
So it's just every 15, right?
Yes.
It's just for forever.
Yes.
If we want to continue that.
Unless you want to consider something else.
Well, and the reason I ask, right, because I didn't know if there's like a legal requirement around this or not, like in other places, if there's time lapse. I'm just kind of just giving comments now, not so much questions. I'm more in favor just in perpetuity. I think this is, the Strayhorn family has given, this has been key to Carrboro, not just when they built their home, but all of their descendants have given so much to this town. I think the minimum we can do is leave at least this piece of town in perpetuity for them in the honor of just their place in Carrboro. So, council, if you would be amenable, I would amend the motion or amend the resolution to be in perpetuity rather than the 15-year marker. I'm open to conversation on this.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Posada. Councilmember Palmer, did you have something?
I would just, as a friendly amendment, can we just strike that clause? Or do we need to actually say something that it needs to be in perpetuity? Okay.
Strike it.
You just take it out.
So that
I'm offering that as a friendly amendment. I don't know if parliamentarily that works. But.
I think that's what
Yeah.
Eleazar was saying.
Yes, so just to clarify, I know that Councilmember Haven O'Donnell, you wanted to move the motion. I think you essentially did, so I would want to amend your motion to strike the whereas clause that includes the 15 years, and if you're amenable to that, I would second your motion.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense because it's, as an honorary naming, it in perpetuity is most appropriate.
Motion by, any further discussion, council members, on that matter? Motion by Councilmember Haven O'Donnell, seconded by Councilmember Posada, and we are moving attachment A, which is the resolution with that friendly amendment, strike that clause from 15 years to forever.
Okay.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Frey. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Can we clap for that? I feel like we need to clap for that.
Ms. Clark. Yes, good work, good work. And that's the end of that agenda item. Town Manager Tony, next item.
Next item is an information item. It's a presentation on the parking count. It's an update. Our Economic Development Director, Mr. John Hartmut Brown, will give this update.
Thank you, Manager Tony. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. As you have in your packet, you have in the staff report a write-up of our current findings and some background information on the recent parking count. I'll just give a kind of a highlights presentation here this evening and be happy to answer any of your questions. So just a little bit of background. In 2019, Walker Consulting was hired to conduct a parking study, and the counts took place in the fall of 2021, primarily due to a delay from COVID. We wanted to make sure that, of course, those counts were as accurate as they could be during that time. Staff conducted another update in fall of 2022 just to verify, and those have been the kind of counts that we've been working off of since that time. So in the meantime, since that last count update in 2022, Carrboro Mall began towing in late summer and fall of 2023. And staff began an information campaign shortly thereafter, around that same time, on various public parking locations. This was through the forms of yard signs with QR codes, social media, our town information centers, postcards, our website. We've created a web page as a result of this, and of course the town newsletter. In spring of 2025, of course, as we all know, the Drakeford Library Complex parking deck open, adding an additional capacity for public parking in downtown. In spring of 2025, we conducted another parking count update. And just to dispel any concerns, there was no major events happening that weekend to give us odd numbers. And there was the forecast for the 2 days we did the count. So sunny and mild. So nothing, no rainy, no odd weather either to dispel any concerns with the parking counts. So some of the findings. Turnover in our public parking lots has improved significantly from the last count. As you can see from the chart here, less than half of the sampled parking cars stayed more than 2 hours. Just as a comparison, I've also included the 2022 count turnover rates as well. And so those numbers have dropped dramatically. You'll notice, of course, the biggest drop being on Saturdays, those weekdays, from 51% in 2022 to 29% here in 2025. The averages for parking occupancy are higher than what they were in 2022. So the actual number of cars that we're seeing, the occupancy rates that we're seeing on those public parking lots have increased, and that has been significant in the daytime weekday parking times. So just a breakdown here is the lot by lot, hour by hour, day by day comparison. So as you can see, just as a reference, the parking lots with asterisks beside them are town-owned facilities. So these are ones that we actually own, we do not lease. And the ones with the little lightning bolt are lots that have chargers in them. So there may be a higher or a less turnover in those lots due to electric chargers. As you can see, really during the weekdays, we see a lot of occupancy taking place from really that kind of late morning through early afternoon time frame, with lots like the Weaver Street lot, as well as the Acme and Roberson lots, well above the 85% threshold that we would be looking for. These lots are certainly approaching, would be considered failing. At this point, this would be where cars would be starting to circle, trying to find different parking spaces or parking locations. You can see Century Center also is a yellow. That's approaching failure. Definitely some spots there. I will note, however, Century Center lot does have a lot of accessible parking in it. So that does contribute to the full count, but these numbers do reflect that those may not be occupied. So the 77 number may mean that the ADA parking spaces are not being fully utilized at the time of the count. So those numbers could be a little lower than what might actually be on the ground. And as you can see, Saturday, same thing. We're seeing high counts on really kind of the morning hours. And of course, we all know what that's related to with the farmers market here at the Town Hall and Laurel Avenue lots. And you can actually see that spillover happening if you look at the 9 o'clock on Weaver Street and then the 11 a.m. on Weaver Street. Those numbers bump. And of course, that's the next closest. That and the Century Center lot are the next closest. Closest lots to the farmers market. Also of note, Saturday, 9 p.m., we see a lot of our lots that are in that yellow zone, so they're above kind of that 70%, 75% threshold, so again, approaching failure, but we still have some availability there. Also just to note that the lots that are not asterisked are leased lots, and many of them have 90-day, they vary, but many of them have a 90-day notice for any kind of either party wanting to terminate the lease agreement. So what does this look like on the ground? We actually look at 4 different zones we've broken the town up into, and this gives us a better understanding of how people realistically would travel. You know, you're not just because there's occupancy at Town Hall doesn't mean, and you're trying to get to Cat's Cradle doesn't mean you're going to park at Town Hall and walk all that way. So these are 800-foot concentric or 800-foot circles that give us a reasonable walking distance that most people would take. And as you can see, the weekday level of service, all of our zones are green. Nowhere are we approaching at any time point failure or close to failure. That changes a little bit on the weekend level of service, and that's primarily, of course, due to the farmers market. At Zone 1, we see 90 and 97% occupancies during those 2 times. So, again, this does not include the on-street parking that we see. This is only off-street parking. And so that zone would continue, we will recommend, that this zone continue to be monitored. Also of note is Zone 4, that 9 o'clock evening time. It's really, Zone 4 kind of serves as the town's nightlife district. So that's where we see those higher occupancy numbers. So just briefly, some conclusions and recommendations. Again, parking turnover has increased, so that's a good thing. I know that's been a concern that we've talked about in the past. Average parking occupancy has also increased, and especially during those weekday daytime hours. Most of our, of note, I want to say that most of our failing parking lot locations, where we have seen those in that chart earlier, are smaller parking lots. So while they might be approaching failure, they contribute very little to the overall parking capacity within a particular zone. The exception to that, of course, is the Weaver Street parking lot and Town Hall lot. Those are much bigger lots and contribute significantly to their respective zones. Overall, existing parking is meeting demand. So we would recommend at this time that we continue to monitor Zone 4, just to verify and make sure that our counts are updated to get, get a better understanding when we're getting close to a failure for public parking in that zone. And we also want to continue to monitor special events in Zone 1. And this could include doing things, modifying that zone to maybe allow for on-street parking for special events, not just for farmers market. And that could help alleviate any potential overflow into other areas in that zone, such as the Weaver Street lot. All in all, staff are recommending no new parking is necessary for downtown at this time. And I'll be happy to take any questions that you have.
Thank you so much for that report, John. Council members, do we have any questions for John?
I just have a comment.
Go right ahead, Council member.
I want to thank you for this update. It's, it's the first piece of consistency that we've had with COVID and things getting back to open businesses to get a feel for it. I think the wayfinding and the signage, that campaign has really helped. And I think the Drakeford has just having that parking. I'd be interested to see on the next update what it looks like in terms of the Drakeford use. Because I know one of the questions that will be coming up in the future is the renewal of the 300 deck. So, I'd be interested to see what that looks like and whether or not that lease is needed. I think it'll take time for folks to realize that the Drakeford deck is there, but it would be really helpful to see that. So, but thank you for this. Very helpful.
Thank you, Councilmember Haven O'Donnell. I am not seeing any questions at the dais. Councilmember Frey, do you have a question or comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one. John, a quick question for you. I think I've asked this question of you before. I just wanted to check in on it. Do you have the number for the amount of our budget that goes to parking leases?
I would have to verify that. I do not have that number off the top of my head.
Okay, could we get it for our next meeting possibly?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Is it in the budget? Was a question that was asked. Yeah, I think so. I thought I saw it.
It would have to be.
Yep.
We have a separate fund. It would be in the parking fund.
Thank you, John. Councilmember Frey, is that all that you had there?
Yes, Madam Mayor, that's all.
Okay, thanks. Councilmember Posada?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I think one of the only things I wanted to kind of circle back on, last time we had this conversation, we were talking about specifically that 2-hour mark, and we were even discussing what enforcement may look like, and there was conversations about whether or not we're going to need that. If I'm understanding correctly, we're moving in the right track, so we can put that to rest for now. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's a decision the councils can make. At this time, the data does not seem to suggest that we are moving in a much better direction, so that does not seem to be a suggestion that we would necessarily make at this time.
Okay, I just wanted to circle back on that. I know that was part of the conversation that we were having, whether or not we need to put meters on there. Do we need to pay someone to come and do that? So if we're working in the right direction, then I'd rather not, poke the hornet's nest or whatever the saying is. Either way. Thank you. Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem now, I think, has a question.
So is that the parking enterprise money? Is that what represents this? So, Fred, just so that you can hear it and have it at hand, 132.5 in 25-26, down from 216-24-25 for a delta of 83.5. That number has gone down 83.5 budget to budget.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mayor Pro Tem now. Any other questions before John takes his seat? And thank you very much, John, for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Come on.
Councilmember Posada's going to get some water. Almost there. There he is. The last item, Town Manager Tony.
Last item is board appointments by our clerk, Lamar Joyner.
All right, Mr. Joyner, take it away.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, we have a few requests for reappointments. First, you received the sheet with the AWASA board reappointment as well as a consideration for an appointment for a member that represents the town of Carrboro. And as I speak, I think I see Councilmember Palmer's hand go up, so he may want to say something real quickly.
Yeah, go right ahead, Councilmember
Yeah,
Palmer.
thank you, Madam Mayor. I just, for the sake of transparency, first wanted to make a statement, and then I have a question for our attorney. I am married to Jocelyn, who's on this list of the AWASA board appointments, and I think the community should know that, and my colleagues I've already informed. And the question for the attorney, just to confirm, I don't have to recuse myself in this case. Is that correct?
I don't think you have to recuse yourself because you have no personal benefit.
All right. I appreciate that. So I do not have to, but Mayor, I'm going to choose to recuse myself at this point. And if you would like me to step out, I can do that, but I'm happy to just sit back and not talk.
Oh, that's fine with me. Thank you,
Well,
thank
he-
you for
he-
that.
he
Councilmember
didn't
Palmer.
have to go anywhere.
Yeah, you don't have to go anywhere.
And he has an obligation.
Yeah, so you're fine with that. So we will start with the AWASA Board of Directors. So we do have one reappointment, and then we also need to appoint someone else due to the resignation of Mel Kramer. And Elmira Mangum has served one term, is interested in serving another. So I would like to see what council members' thoughts are on that. We'll just go ahead and get the reappointment out of the way and then come back for the actual appointment. Councilmember Haven O'Donnell.
Yeah, I'd move Elmira Mangum for reappointment.
Thank you for
She's
that.
done an excellent job.
All right, so it's been moved and properly seconded that Elmira Mangum be reappointed to the AWASA Board. Council members, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Councilmember Frey. So the motion carries 7-0 to reappoint Elmira Mangum. And council members, we have 4 other names in consideration. Councilmember Palmer has let us know about his relationship with Jocelyn. She is his wife, and he will be recusing himself from the discussion as well as voting, of course. And I see Councilmember Posada's hand, so we would try to discuss these 4 and come to some type of consensus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I also wanted to take a moment to thank my colleague, Councilman Palmer, for even though not having to recuse himself, wanting to be transparent and taking the moment to pull back. So, just want to acknowledge that. When I'm looking at this appointment, I'm looking at the 4 remaining candidates. I want to note that one of these 4 candidates has this expertise specifically in what AWASA is doing, and I wanted to, I will be lending my support to Jocelyn, mostly not only because of her expertise in the material matter and all the work that she's done outside of UNC, but also as I look into kind of the values of our town, values of the community that we serve, diversity and inclusion is a big piece of this. And I do want to make sure that we are acknowledging not only a diverse folks on that board, but also folks who have deep expertise. So I won't move yet, but when the time is appropriate, I would like to move to appoint Jocelyn. With that, Madam Mayor, I yield back.
Thank you, Councilmember Posada. So you're lifting up Jocelyn because of the experience from our application, as well as work in the community, community ties, diversity. So I thank you for that. And I'm sorry, Councilmember Haven O'Donnell, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to advance Ken Krebs. He has extensive experience with PFAS testing. This is a huge issue for OWASA and for us in Carrboro to know that we have someone sitting at the table who has done extensive testing nationally on PFAS and has that background now that we are looking at serious PFAS pollution numbers in Cane Creek and the kind of methods and process that OWASA will be investigating to secure our water. So I support Ken Krebs. I also want to make one other comment for later discussion and maybe ask the attorney to look into this. I would want to know why Carrboro only has 2 seats on OWASA. I would ask that we investigate how we can get a 3rd seat. Chapel Hill has 5, and OWASA is located here, and we are the ones who have to bear the issues with development of the site, and I feel that we need at least a 3rd representative. So if we could look into how, I know there's some, it's not a straightforward thing where we make a request, but it has to do with proportionality. But I think the fact that OWASA is located here and it's making a huge pitch that will cost Carrboro, an enormous amount of money, and it affects our neighborhoods. So I would like to see us represented with at least 1 more seat. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Councilmember Haven O'Donnell. Does that, is that in the OWASA charter? Does anybody know? Nick or Patrice? Y'all will research that and let us know. See if we could do.
We'll look into it.
Okay, all right. That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Councilmember Haven O'Donnell. Anyone else have any comments? Councilmember Frey, I know you're there. Do you have
Thank
any?
you, Madam.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you,
I'm
Madam
sorry.
Mayor. No comments at this time. I might speak up again if I do in a moment.
Okay, thank you. So it appears that we have Jocelyn and Ken. So council members, those are the 2 names we have, and certainly we agreed to do a voice vote. We have 6 council members that are able to participate in this vote. Also entertain a motion so we can take the vote.
I'd like to move we appoint Jocelyn Tsai. I think her experience with data science organizations, her education, the points that Councilmember Prasada brought up are all really great. I think she'd be great on the board.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Nell. It was seconded by Councilmember Posada. So we're going to go ahead and run with the vote on this name, the 6 of us. The name that has been lifted up, Councilmember Palmer, can you pronounce her last name? Is it T silent?
Tsai.
Tsai. I thought the T might. Jocelyn Tsai. It's been moved and properly seconded that she be appointed to the OWASA board. Council members, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, thank you so much. The motion carries 6-1 for Jocelyn Tsai to be appointed to the OWASA board. Thank you, council members.
5-1, right? Am I correct? 5-1?
I'm sorry, 5-1, because Palmer is recusing
Just want to make sure.
of their marriage. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is 5-1. Thank you, Mr. Joyner.
Thank you.
Housing and Community Service, I'm sorry. Housing and Human Services Advisory Commission has been consolidated. I believe there was a recommendation in the, maybe I was incorrect. Never mind. It's here, so we have 4 candidates here for Housing and Human Services Advisory Commission. We have 2 reappointments. And council members, do we want to discuss these 4 names, keeping in mind that this is a consolidated board now that covers housing and as well as the Human Services Advisory Commission and that whole process? I see Councilmember Posada.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this is actually a question for Town Clerk. I just want to ask you, with all my colleagues here, it's my understanding that there's 3 vacancies on that board, correct? And there's 2 being recommended that would, if we appoint those 2, there'd still be an additional vacancy. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, I think what has happened is the staff liaison has recommended reappointments. And what I have done, just in full transparency, is I received application and I listed the rest of the applicants just in case the council decided that they did not want to reappoint these recommended reappointments. But that one position could be appointed at another time if council wanted to, or council could choose any one of these other individuals for that, in that open seat. But the recommendation only came from staff liaison to do the reappointments, if that makes sense. Does that clarify why? Yes, go ahead, sorry.
It does, thank you for that. And I think one of the things that I wanted to frame or mention is that Heather is also seeking reappointment and is currently appointed. So I would move that we appoint both the 2 recommended folks and Heather, so that we can go ahead and make sure that we have full membership of that board, rather than to leave a possible vacancy. And also want to note that Heather has served on the House Advice AHAC before the consolidation, is a, again, diverse and strong member of the community, and I want to make sure that we continue to have that diversity on our boards. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you so much. So it's been moved. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem.
So Heather would satisfy the affordable housing expert position?
I don't know about the affordable housing. I don't know which position that
So,
she represents.
I guess I read that the vacancy they're recommending left open is because that vacancy would be for the affordable housing expert, is how I read Anne Marie's communication.
Oh, the one that was the email that was.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't want us to leave a vacancy for no reason, but I want to make sure that if we are putting Heather forward, that she is able to occupy that seat, that fits Anne Marie's vision for it, that, you know, we're, because I think just the question of like the considered expertise there, I think Anne Marie is being sensitive to, and I just want to make sure that we're staying clear on.
So if it is the will of the council, we can hold off and do this appointment on June the 3rd if you would like to at the next meeting to make sure we have clarification and just do the 2 reappointments today. It is at the will of the council.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to pull my original motion and just ask that we table this whole discussion until June 3rd, where we can get not only information about, well, the information we already have of these 2 candidates, but additional information as to that additional 3rd seat. I would like to, if we're going to be filling that seat, I'd rather to appoint all of them at the same time. So if council members, if you're comfortable with that, I would like to just motion to table this conversation to June 3rd.
So you want, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Frey.
I apologize. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Posada, I believe that one reason to bring this forward tonight is that there is a vote of this committee happening tomorrow. So it is important that we do seat people. You know, we could certainly have a discussion about whether we wanted to seat 2 and bring a 3rd back later, or what we wanted to do there.
That is, thank you, Councilmember Frey. I had forgotten about that piece. So once again, Madam Mayor, I'll amend my motion. Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the two recommended candidates and then bring back the conversation on June 3rd about that additional vacancy.
Yep.
My second still stands.
Thank you, Councilmember Haven O'Donnell. So we will move forward with Josie Hartman and Ronnie Zuckerman to be reappointed to Housing and Human Services Advisory Commission. We have a motion and a second. Council members, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Did she say aye? I think she did. So
I did
motion.
say aye, Madam Mayor,
Thank you.
yes.
Motion carries 7-0, and then we'll get the third seat, the appointment on June 3rd.
Yeah, I'll get clarifying information so everybody can be aware of what the
is
situation
actually
is.
wanted
Yes.
there for that
Yes.
seat. Yep, that sounds great. That's the end of our agenda. Council members, we do have a closed session. So motion to go into closed session, personnel matter.
Could we take like
Madam
a
Mayor?
3-minute break before?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question for the town attorney. I'm not remembering at this moment because I don't have my notes with me, whether or not, I think I cannot attend the closed session and have to drop at that point. I just wanted to check on that before we take the motion.
Is that correct? Mm-hmm. That's okay. Yeah, we can take a recess until we get everything situated. So, who did the motion?
There isn't a motion yet. I think there was a.
We're waiting for them for the recess.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
I apologize. If there was an answer to my question, I couldn't hear it.
What
Someone
was your
wasn't
question
speaking into a
again?
mic.
Somebody was in here talking.
My
I'm sorry.
question was, my question was, am I able to participate in a closed session remotely? I believe the answer is no, but I wanted to
You-
get a,
You can participate, but they have to take a break. They have to shut everything down.
Yeah, we
and
gotta
then
take a
invite you
break.
back.
That's what we were doing,
thank
was
you.
talking to the AV folks. So you're good.
Understood. I apologize. I couldn't hear part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hang tight.
So, Madam Mayor, I move we take a short recess and then move into closed session.
Yep. Second? Anybody?
Seconded.
All right, thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that we take a short break, and then we'll move into our closed session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So it shouldn't take too long to. Get out of here.